Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and today we have this interesting pattern. This is 7832 on friendshipbracelets.net, and it's not easy. I kind of felt like I was struggling to find a clever way of doing it, and I don't enjoy patterns that have an element. I'll show you when we get to that area, but and in fact, I really started this whole thing off going, oh man, kind of dreading it, kind of like maybe it's not turning out how I wanted. And when I got a little bit further down, I looked at it and objectively looked at it and went, wow, it really kind of fit the whole theme that I had been talking about, where the red is like the flower and the green is like the vine and the blue is like the sky, and how it's subtle, but then it's not. And suddenly it made all the work that goes into making it all of a sudden just felt like, yeah, if that's what it takes to make this, then that's okay. But like I said, it took a while to try to really find my footing, to get the segmenting really on track, because we didn't exactly double this pattern. We've doubled this pattern before, right? So then the little red things were like parallel to each other, and then they came down the line. This one I offset the other set, and in some ways I think maybe that might have made things a little bit harder. But oh, so you can see it now. That green, it's like a chevron, and then two pieces, right? Like it's not, or it's an X and then a part of another one or something. There's no easy way about it. You have to complete a little bit more from one side before you can get in more of the other side. I'm used to patterns that kind of flow. Like when I choose my patterns, I really like more like the arrowheads and things that just have an easier flow to it. But that said, then the red diamonds go in. Those are really easy. The blue does this kind of a double thing, which is a little bit harder. I spent a lot more time having to look at the pattern while working on this, which means a little bit more concentration, a little bit less watching something, either on YouTube or wherever. Because I did kind of have to concentrate more on what I was doing. But that said, it really turns out cool. I'm looking down, I have the bracelet here. It is really sort of cool. The stripe down the middle has just enough contrast between that green and the blue to really show off the fact that there's a stripe. You can see that there's an element of the stripe along the edges, which kind of gives this impression that we're only seeing a small portion of it. If it were to go out further, it would continue to do the same things, which honestly, I think if you were to double this, I think it would be spectacular, because you would have staggering red dots all over the place with these green lines connecting them all. So this doubled. So right now it's at 12 strings. So we went from 6 to 12. If you were to go now from 12 to 24, I think it'd be outstanding. If you wanted to go further, you wanted to take that up to like 96 to make a small bag out of it, I think this would be really, really cool looking. I think it would be cool looking in the same way that like some designer bags have like a repetitive pattern that kind of comes through, or like wallpaper, like how it's repetitive, but then they're offset, like from between the patterns. I think it's exactly that sort of thing. So I think you could have a lot of fun with this pattern if you were so inclined. I'm kind of don't want to do it because I know it's going to take a long time and I got to keep the videos going. But I mean, if there was something that somebody really, really wanted, or like somebody put in an order, said, yep, they're going to buy the bag. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd probably be inclined to do that. Like I said, I did have to watch the pattern an awful lot to make sure that things were, it's not intuitive. A lot of the stuff seems like it could go different ways. A lot of the way that the greens on the edge, you know, the way they change directions, the way that the blue will come up and set colors where they go, things like that. There's a lot of it that, like I said, not intuitive. So yeah, if you're looking for a pattern that you can just like kind of glance at and go out the door and make it, you know, whenever, yeah, this is probably not it. I suspect in time, if you made a big one of these, I suspect you would probably get it figured out before long. I mean, so it's not like the hardest thing. This is just intermediate, I guess. Lots of zigzags, lots of, I don't know, just not that easy, I guess. Yeah, like, so that blue comes down, it gets to where the green is, and the green changes direction, and yeah, it's a lot of fiddly stuff. And you'll see, like, a lot of times I start with getting the right done and then bringing the left. This one I kind of went back and forth with it just because it seemed like I was, you know, I already had part of the right I was working, or the part of the left I was working on, and then I'm like, might as well just continue that out and then work on the right. And then once I was working on the right, continue that out and then go to the left, which seemed to make kind of sense and kind of kept things going. Mind you, it only took me about an hour and 12 minutes, something like that. So a little more than an hour. So yeah, it's a little slower than the average 12-string bracelet, but you know, there's, like I said, lots of little twists and turns and things like that. So yeah, I don't know where I am in the video, but I figure I better start thanking my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members who make all this stuff possible. Yeah, I really do appreciate the sentiment of them, you know, contributing to making this all happen. Even with the channel monetized, I still need a little bit of help with being able to buy the string. The only way to get the string at a decent price is to buy it kind of in bulk. So at least a little more than a kg just to get that deal. So I have a lot of string, but it's because they have helped make that all possible. So thank you guys so much. If you want to be on that list, all you got to do is join, and I will be happy to add your name to the many names already in there. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, alternating sides thing, that sort of makes sense at times. I know that my other bracelet, I showed you how I was like always doing it exactly the same way. This one kind of needs a little bit of do a little bit over here before you can do a little bit over there kind of thing happening. So the ways that worked really good for other projects might not work for all projects. So that's I guess my big insider tip for this one. It's it just took effort, and you know, whatever you do, if you're trying to segment, you're trying to do it, if it's making it easier so that you don't make mistakes and that you're staying with the pattern and everything is working out for you, then that's probably what was best. If you can keep it consistent as far as the directions of the knots throughout the whole bracelet, like which way they're kind of working, it will turn out looking nicer than if you just kind of go any which way. That said, you're not forced to have to do it particular directions. I know that a lot of people really enjoy the way that bracelet designs are done on some of the other websites, because it actually shows you an arrow and stuff. But sometimes those can actually not be the best way of doing it. A lot of times, because they're just showing you how to do it for a small bit. If you keep doing it, one string will get used an awful lot more than the other ones. And if you're following it to the letter, you might run yourself into trouble that way. So being able to see which makes sense at the time, being able to choose and change as necessary is a good skill to learn. So if you're kind of new to it, you're kind of trying to work this out, or you've always done it by the pattern, maybe now's the chance for you to think about learning how to just look at the bracelet itself, look at a pattern that doesn't give you direction, and figure those out for yourself. So hopefully that helps. I don't want to make things harder on you guys, but I do definitely believe that that's a smarter way of getting to know the knots, getting to know how to do the bracelets. So, and I think, so now you can kind of really see, right? The blue is a really nice little slight contrast to the green. The red is obviously the color that pops. It's the one that is the most noticeable. But then you see these kind of blue stripes that are sort of running in there. Isn't that nice? I really do. I definitely question whether I should have gone with a darker green, but I didn't. I wanted it to be like a plant, and like dark greens are more like maybe less like the vines and stuff of a tree, like that, or like of a plant. They're more like, you know, maybe like a bigger tree leaf kind of thing that's been out for a long time. New growth is always brighter green. So I wasn't sure about the colors, but now that it's done, I definitely think this turned out kind of the way I would want it. So curious though, what colors do you think you would use for this? Would you try to make it like I did, where it seems like it's flowers on the vine, or would you make it completely different? Because obviously you can use any three colors of contrast. It could be really anything. You could make it bright yellow diamonds, and you know, I don't know what else. It could be literally anything you want. There's the place that supplies my string has 447 different colors. It could be any of them. So if you do make it though, you can always share your finished stuff. There's a whole space for that inside of Discord, and you could share your creations. And yeah, I'm always curious. I like to see what other people are making. It's a chance to see different colors on the same patterns without me having to do a lot of work. So of course I love that. And yeah, it's a place where you guys can ask questions, and I can share stuff. I have like whiteboards around here to draw out things for you guys, stuff like that. Oh, I got asked a question today about storing my floss and how I do it to keep it from getting all tangled up. I have several drawers in the airplane trolley, and they have all my flosses in there. When I kind of am looking for floss, I am very cautious about the way I dig through there, because the more you handle it, the more likely when you go to unwrap it, it's going to turn into a knotted mess. So I do use caution when I'm handling the floss. And then once I cut up any segments of it, whatever's left over goes onto bobbins and gets stowed in those little plastic trays. Because yeah, having just loose floss around would be really bad. It would just turn into a huge mess. So that's the stuff that goes onto the bobbins. Once upon a time, I used to try to take new floss that came in and put it onto bobbins. But somewhere along the line, I ended up having to get a little bit more floss here and there. And again, big bags came in, and there's a lot of cut floss right now. So almost all of those trays are now all have like the cut floss and not full ones. And so, yeah, that's kind of a thing. Oh, I'm at the end. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me. As always, don't get your strings in a bunch.